Well, hey there, Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. Thank you so much for joining us here, Mississippi Live Weather. Again, we continue to bring you updates related to the power outage situation here across North Mississippi. Historic ice storm. You can do the 94, not 94 debate. There's no question this is very impactful and will be potentially for days, hopefully not weeks. It's going to take some time, though, and we have to have some patience built in. I have only light and power here because I happen to have an electric truck piping it into my location. I don't have power at the rest of the house is getting dark. It's getting cold. I'm dealing with a lot of the same things that you are. And the crazy thing about this is at this point, 1 in 10 Mississippians is in the same boat that I and many of you are in, where we do not have power at this time. Unfortunately, we have about 140,000 Mississippians without power at this instant. To get a more precise number, as you can see, the percentages in this part of the state, pretty significant, and I don't think this necessarily tells the whole story. To do that, we have a Northern District Public Service Commissioner, Chris Brown, that is joining us here on Mississippi Live. Mr. Brown, thank you so much for coming on with us here, as you have a tree that's basically kind of half down beside you there. Yeah, I'll pop you up full so we can see that, but that's the issue, isn't it? It's all those pine needles getting all the ice and the problems that come after that.
It is, and so I'm in South Lee County now, so it's not as bad here. I was in the northern part of the county and in the district, obviously, in Tippah, Benton, Marshall, Itawamba, all up in there, Lafayette counties, and it's catastrophic. And like you said, we can compare it to '94, and the biggest difference to my knowledge is that we have TVA transmission lines that are down, that are supplying power to our local power companies. And so the local power companies are doing everything they can, but they don't have the power coming in from TVA, which is the generation. And it's because of this right here behind us. I know you've already covered it, but you see all the ice building up on the trees. It gets heavy and then crashes down all on the power lines and disrupts the distribution. So it's a huge distribution issue. And I don't know the numbers of '94, but as you said, we have over 113,600 meters or connections that are out. That's multiplied exponentially by the number of people that live in those homes. So it is getting colder. The roads north of Tupelo are pretty much a solid sheet of ice. So you get north of Lee County, the roads get really bad. From Lee County south, the roads are pretty good. Bridges are still a little icy, but the biggest hit area is, obviously, you already covered it. Lafayette County was kind of the epicenter, so it's over 20,000 connections in Lafayette County, 13,000 in Alcorn. Pretty much the whole county service area is out. Even as far as south as Montgomery at 3,580, Tallahatchie 3,568, Webster over 4,300. So it's a large swath that covers the county, the district. DeSoto County, 0. So there's nobody in DeSoto County out of power, but again, because they had sleet, not freezing rain. Freezing rain is what caused the problem, obviously. But
Okay,
they're working fiercely.
Well, so a couple of questions, that came up after, from what you just said a moment ago there. And one of those is, you mentioned the TVA transmission lines, and obviously those are much stronger than just the wood poles that we have outside our house. That also is something that's not like you have on the back of a truck. What kind of time frame have you gotten from TVA on hopefully restoration of at least that portion of infrastructure? Are we talking days? Is it longer?
They're still evaluating the system, so we don't have any concrete numbers yet. But it's going to be a process. And to your point, to disrupt those lines, it takes a very big tree to go down across those power lines, and they're very, very remote, and so it's going to take a while to evaluate that. We'll have more tomorrow morning as they evaluate those assets more. It's going to take a while. In a lot of places, it's going to be weeks, unfortunately. Again, reminiscent of '94. There's a lot of damage. And I was in Benton County, and again, just trying to get to my 99-year-old grandmother. She didn't have power and needed a generator for oxygen machine. And we were literally stopping, helping people cut trees out of the road to get to her. So that's going to be a long process just to get to those assets to repair them. So a lot of people will be out days. The crews are out everywhere, and tell you that they're the first responders and they're true heroes to see those linemen out in this weather climbing poles with ice like this is absolutely amazing to me. And when I see a load of trucks go by with those buckets on it, literally the hair on your arm stands up in respect for those guys and what they're doing. So say a prayer for them to keep them safe in this as well. But it's probably going to take weeks unfortunately, to restore everybody.
I was outside just a few minutes ago. I did a live hit for Fox Weather, and hearing the wind go through the trees. We've had a few wind gusts out there. I think one of the concerns that I have as a meteorologist is we could still see some fall going forward. That's still potentially a danger. You mentioned how remote this was and how large the trees had to be. What was about? Where was the location of where we obviously had pretty significant takedown of that transmission line?
Largest impact in the Tennessee valleys in Mississippi. So northern Mississippi took the brunt of it. Northern Alabama got a little bit, but not much. Tennessee was impacted some, but not as bad as us. So those lines are located in and around North Mississippi that are supplying that generation to our local power companies. So the biggest difference too is that there's no problem with generation. So I think last year, year before, we had some rolling brownouts that impacted a lot of people, and that was failure of generation. That's not the issue here. It's all transmission. The generation facilities actually making the power, they're all green. Everything's looking good. Everything's functioning the way it should. So it's actually a little more difficult to repair these transmission lines than it is to uh, Mississippi's finest checking on me. So maybe I shouldn't be on the side of the road. But so yeah, it's going to take transmission lines a while.
Well, so you mentioned that, by the way. The generation isn't the issue. We're looking at probably about 4 or 5 days with temperatures in the teens, and so while generation, I mean, that's not going to help any of us around here. Whether they're brownouts, everything, because we're all out. But does TVA have any concerns about whether or not they're going to be able to keep up with generation once we get into this cold pattern? And I might have lost him for a moment there as he's kind of interfacing with the folks at the Highway Patrol. So I'm going to give him a moment here to see if we get him back here in a second. Again, a lot of folks trying to handle a lot of different tasks right now. He mentioned, Tippah County, Alcorn County, still about 100% out. And I think one of the important things he said a moment ago, as we kind of wait for him to come back online, is the fact that because some significant damage has occurred to some transmission lines, that means even when some of these specific EPAs that aren't getting the power, they've had lots of power outages, they're not being delivered the power from TVA yet. These electric power cooperatives, they aren't the ones that actually come up with the power. They're part of the distribution end of this. And so the fact that there are some points that's been interrupted means that even if the folks get all the power back on, they need the TVA to flip the switch. So do you know which power cooperatives are the ones that are frankly not able to get the power from TVA at this point here?
Yes, the biggest ones are obviously Lafayette. Everybody in the district that is out are impacted by that. So Lafayette, Alcorn, Tishomingo, Pontotoc, all those are supplied by the TVA trunk or that transmission. That outage is impacting all of them. So all the major
Wow.
outages, and we can tell the ones by large numbers. Lafayette County over 20,000, Alcorn 13,000, Lafayette 20. Oh, it's called Lafayette again. Tishomingo 11,000, Tippah 9,200. Even as far south as Tallahatchie 3,500. And as a percentage, Tallahatchie being a smaller county than Lafayette, Tallahatchie with 3,500. That's a lot for a smaller county like that. Less people, but as far as a percentage, it's a very high impact.
Yeah, I mean that this whole thing is incredibly high impact. I'm going to have, I know, some viewers in the comments here They're like, no power, no water, and stuck here. There's going to be some frustration building on this. What do you say to folks that are like, well, I'm ready for it to be on right now? Ooh, I think you might have got muted. I think you might have touched the button. I think you might have muted it. Yeah. Here's what to do. In your browser, hit the refresh button on your browser at the top. If you hit that, you'll kind of go out for a second. So like that refresh button, and it'll take you out and bring you back in. So we'll bring Chris back in here. We're speaking with Chris Brown, who's the Public Service Commissioner, Northern District here of Mississippi. Okay, Chris, I think you're probably back. No, your audio.
Had a phone call. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. That's fine.
Can you hear me
That
now?
happens, Simon. Yeah, I can. You're perfect.
Yeah, phone call. So, it's harder to restore those infrastructure. And so the good thing is, again, like I was saying, that there's no generation issues. But I think the high peak is when we get everybody back on. There are going to be we are working on some extra generation to make sure that we don't have any problems once everybody is back on. So everybody's working hand in glove. It's going to be a process, unfortunately. And there's a lot of damage. And as you go around the district, I've seen so many down trees and so many power lines laying over the road. And it's just going to take, humans have to go and literally physically put all that stuff back up. And it's going to be very difficult, tedious, and a long process, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I can't say that Mrs. Lawpond didn't come in and say, "Hey, so you've talked to the guy at the EPA a few times. Can you?" I'm like, they will get to us when they get to us, and that's just kind of the way it is. They are restoring again critical infrastructure. Those people that are most vulnerable first, and we're not most vulnerable.
Well, and just know this too. It's all part of a system. So you have to restore one before you go to another, before you go to another. So those interconnections, we don't know where they are, and so it may not make any sense. The house across the street may have power and you don't, and it doesn't make sense. But it's the way that system is looped in. So they're not playing favorites, because the way the system is designed, you have to get one section up before you get the next one. So again, there's nobody playing favorites. It's just trying to get that system on as quick as possible, and it's a process. And so just check on your neighbors. I know you're big on that, and encouraging people to make sure that if you have vulnerable neighbors, call them, check on them. If you see linemen out, if you have some hot coffee or hot chocolate, help them, because it's cold out here. It's very cold. It's going to get worse over the next 2 or 3 days.
It really is. A couple quick questions. I know I keep saying that I'm making you stand outside. If you want to go sit in the car, you're not going to hurt my feelings. Okay. I'm serious. Like it's not warm outside. You're not going to hurt my feelings. One of those is you listened to the press conference that Governor Tate Reeves just got done with a few minutes ago. What are your takeaways on this situation? The preparedness to respond that the state has, and the kind of support you're going to get out of Jackson.
I think it's all hands on deck. I know MEMA, I know the governor, and so they will. It'll be an all hands on deck response. It is going to take time though, and I can't stress that enough. I know I keep saying that, but when you go out and see the damage, not only the icy roads, but the damage in the infrastructure. When you have a pole broke or 4 trees down on that line, and that line's laying on the ground, you have to, number one, fix the pole, and then you have to get the power lines back up, and then you have to energize it. So it's going to take a long, long time, even with all hands on deck. But I will say this, that we know the way the electric power companies work. If you have an outage, we'll see armies of linemen from local LPCs. We've had reports of some coming as far away as Canada to come in and help us. So there'll be lineman trucks all over the Northern District working hand in glove with our local LPCs to get us back up and going. And so there'll be literally armies of these trucks and these linemen coming to get us back up. And I know the governor's on board, MEMA. They're aware of the situation, and it's 94-ish. Like I said, we can compare the two. And I went through 94 and it was very difficult. And this is going to be very difficult. Like I said, we can compare that afterwards, but I know everybody that from our team down to the local LPCs, the TVA, to MEMA, the governor, and everybody else, we're all hands on deck to try to solve this and get people back in with power as quick as we possibly can.
Yeah, I believe that. It's just it's one of the things I talked to somebody about, I think earlier today, was the fact when you have a tornado that comes through, it's this concentrated track of significant damage. I think the thing in seeing the pictures that I have noticed is it's the widespread nature of this that is so kind of alarming. And you look down entire streets and no houses are still there, but the trees. I think of Oxford, the beautiful trees there, and just it's a mess.
It is a mess, and people have to, just like we did today. You know, I was trying. We were. I would come up on a road, and there would be a Mississippian with a tractor and a chainsaw, and he's clearing the roads. And so we all jump in and we help clear the road to try to make sure that people can travel down it. And that's medical emergency personnel, first responders, and linemen as well. So it's a process. And you know, to your point, you know, this is more akin to like a hurricane, where it's like it's so widespread, and like you said, a tornado kind of comes through one general area, and you can kind of triage that, even if it's a mile wide by 20 miles, a mile by 20. That's a much smaller tract than what we're dealing with here. This is whole counties that are devastated by trees, and like you said, all the way from Lafayette to Tishomingo. The swath and the amount of people impacted and the infrastructure that's been damaged is beyond imagination at this point. And
It
when you go
really
out and
is.
about like you have and what I have, it's devastating.
It is, and it's. I can understand. I mean, I see some folks here. Like in the chat behind the scenes, they're like, "I've been out since 4 a.m." There's some folks out there. If it's 4 a.m. a week from now, things have gone well for you. This is going to take a while. This is not going to be immediate, and there's really cold temperatures, which honestly enhances danger along with this as well. Are there concerns that you know? we're going to be more susceptible to local pipe breaks, maybe not on the infrastructure end, but on the home end. Do we feel like there's enough backup power to keep the water towers, for example, with the pumps going to keep the water up in there in some of these communities?
No, we're already starting to experience some trouble. I was in Hickory Flat, and their water system went down, and some have backup generators, some don't. And so, if you don't have backup generators, then the water system's automatically out. If you do have backup generators, then it's imperative that they continue to run. And we're already starting to see failures, and it is going to get unfortunately worse before it gets better when you start dealing with, we're talking 12. I think you're reporting 12, 13 degrees
Best case
without heat
scenario,
in your
there will be
home.
some spots out there, and I think Oxford could be one of them, where you're like 9 or 8 degrees the next couple of days.
There will be. I know that the local. I know Oxford, Lafayette County, and MEMA and others are going to make sure there's warming areas that people can go and stay warm. And then if there's water and things like that that people need, I know that they're coming online as well. So it'll be all of us working hand in glove, and that's the beauty of being a Mississippian, is that we all work hard, hand in glove, to try to make sure that we help our neighbors. And anybody out there in your listening area, if there's a water system that doesn't have a backup generator or needs generator trouble, or has generator trouble, let somebody know. We're trying to get assets. I know some people have contacted our office, and we've put them in contact with those that have generators. So um, those are water systems, not necessarily individuals, but those that serve a community that broad and that large. If the water system goes down, then I know there's other assets, but reach out to us and we'll do what we can too to make sure that that community water system stays online to supply water to our neighbors.
You mentioned, I think it was your mother, that you had to run over there, help her with oxygen. You know, the homebound, that might be in a situation like that. I mean, we already might have some significant issues with that. Are we encouraging I guess it's called 911 at this point here, if you're out of power and you're in a situation that you determine life threatening? What kind of recommendations do you have for those folks?
Definitely dial 911, especially if you're north of Tupelo. I saw many cars in the ditch going once you hit Benton County. That's where my grandmother's 99, and my mother stays with her. And of course, obviously, they're without power there and without water. So we were able to get some supplies to them because my grandmother can't be moved. So yes, if you have medical emergency, still dial 911, and those brave men and women and the first responders, they'll get to you.
Yeah, they will. They will. Anything else you want to add?
Just pray for your neighbors, check on them, and we'll all get through this together. Unfortunately, we can't control these. And I will say this, that, our local LPCs do a fantastic job. They really do. I mean, when you turn the light switch on, the lights come on. We have really, really good local power companies that do a fantastic job. And unfortunately, incidents like this, there's nothing we can do to stop acts of God like this or acts of nature, and we just have to deal with it. And so it's going to take us time to work through it. But we're gonna work together to make sure we get the power back on as quick as we humanly possibly can.
I'll ask you. Well, I'll wrap up with a personal question I've been asking folks. Is your power on? And almost everyone I've asked, unfortunately, the answer has been no.
I'm in North Monroe County, and so for some reason, Monroe County, I think there's a total number of 3 people out. So
God,
Monroe County is
lucky
on.
man.
My son's in Tupelo, and his power didn't go out. So yeah, it makes you it makes you feel bad because I do have power, and a lot of people don't, and you want to help them. And I'm like I said, I'm here in South Lee County, and on the highway, but you see there's street lights on over there, so there's power on here. I'm just south of Tupelo, close to the southern industrial park. So
Here's what I would
we
say.
do have power down here.
I don't think you should feel guilty. I think that's an opportunity for you to invite maybe people into your home if we get to a situation later this week. Tonight, we cannot travel. It's just too risky. Tomorrow, it's possible. Maybe things get a little bit better, but maybe that's the solution. Rather than feeling guilty, maybe we start moving some people around. It's a lot easier to stay in a friend's house as opposed to a warming shelter, right?
Amen. Yeah. So we'll continue to kind of gather those assets and see where we're at. We'll do our part as well, and I let us know, because I tell my team all the time, the first two words in our name is public service. So if there's something that is needed, let us know. We may not be able to satisfy, but we will help find somebody that can.
Okay.
So
I
reach out
appreciate
to us, and
your. Go ahead.
thank you for your coverage. My better half and I were trying to track the weather, and first thing we went to was your weather service. So can continue the good work.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate you coming on with us. And we'll try to have you on the next few days. I know the next couple of weeks we'll probably talk quite often about this. It's going to be frustrating for folks, but we just have to. I mean, again, like I said, I don't have power. Some people do. That's just the way God organized it, and it'll come back. It's just going to take some time.
It is, and I think we'll have some updates tomorrow. So I'll reach out to you and let you know if I have some concrete updates, and we can kind of cover those then too.
Okay, I appreciate that. Chris Brown, Public Service Commissioner here in Northern District of Mississippi. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Mississippi Live. Be safe driving home. I know those roads are going to get a little more rough, and we appreciate you for talking with us again here and giving everyone the update there. So to kind of recap part of what we talked about over the last little bit, of course, we still have significant power outages. I know in this map behind me, there are some spots that are wrong, as we talked about. Pontotoc County is almost completely out. Union County has more than what's depicted here. Prentiss County has more than what's depicted here. The power outages being reported are probably a little bit or maybe a lot higher than what some of the things that are circulating on social media. What you can tell from Chris's conversation there a second ago, they are aware of that, and they are reacting to that, but it's going to take patience. One of the big things that I noted there was the discussion about transmission lines. So if you think about it like this, flipping on a switch is when everything is hooked up right. And if you take the switch out of the room, you might not be able to flip it on. The lights could all work if you just had a switch. And that's largely what a lot of this is in many places, is that the switch is missing. But there are a few spots with widespread outages, and he didn't tell us the exact counties on that there, but I think you can make some assumptions here about Tippah and Alcorn and Prentiss and maybe even Union County and certainly Tishomingo County there, where the line leading to it, think about it like this. Think about like the wiring is missing in the house. You flip on a switch where there's no wire there, so that wire is not energized. It's messed up someplace else. And so in this case here, what the issue is that transmission line to get it to these different electric power cooperatives, that has experienced a failure. And that's not something that is super quick to fix, but hopefully can be remedied soon. And then the progress that these local electric power cooperatives are making will be seen and will probably be a little more dramatic. It's like going from where it seems like nothing has changed to where more people have had the situation kind of remedied for them as well. That does make me want to kind of check a few of these, because I would bet if we look at some of these different power cooperatives, I don't know if that's the case in Tom Bigby. That one area there is still a pretty large area. That does make me wonder if that's one of them, that TVA line. I mean, this looks virtually unchanged on Pontotoc. That's a large, that would be kind of a pretty good guess there. Fort County, that would be a different kind of transmission line. Let's see here through our list. I think, again, Tishomingo County, if that has not moved, that is highly likely to be the issue there. I'll see if I can get their page to load back in. Yeah, okay. So do you see how on their outage here, I'll kind of move the side here for a moment. See on that outage how it's flatline? It's like you hit a certain level and then no improvement has occurred for you in Tishomingo County. That's probably because they're one that's directly fed by the TVA line, and until even they're out there fixing it in the field, but it's not until that TVA line gets fixed, until that wiring gets plugged back in, that any of the progress that you can see will come back. So that's why so many people up there are at the same level. I'd say probably the same situation case is probably in place. Yeah, for Prentiss County. Again, this has been unmoved, and I know that's got to be frustrating that some folks are like, wait, hold on a second. Like you've at least had some time today and no improvement. Well, they've improved things, but we need somebody to energize the line. And so hopefully that will be coming here pretty soon. So we're hoping to see more information on that again in the next couple of days. We do appreciate Commissioner Chris Brown there for joining us here on Mississippi Live Weather to kind of hopefully give you guys an update. I know it's going to take a while, but I know that's also going to be frustrating. So I'm out of power here. I'm on a backup. I said I'd do a Facebook Live. It's too dark in the rest of the house to do one. This is the only room in the house with lights, running a truck, power cord to the truck. So in it with you as long as we're able to keep the power ongoing here where I am at my location here. All right, next live broadcast is going to be coming up at 6 o'clock here. Coming at 6, we're going to talk a lot more about the cold temperatures related to this. There's also been a flood warning, another one issued for Monroe County. And these flood warnings, again, going back to the heavy precipitation we have, we'll talk about that and really emphasize that significant cold threat, how cold it will get, discussing that more detail here in the Room to Room Weather Center coming up at 6 o'clock. We hope you'll join us. Thank you so much for supporting us and all of us on Mississippi Live Weather. And from all of us here, again, we're praying for you. We're praying with you and hoping and praying that all those people trying to hook the power back up can do so safely. We'll talk to you here in about 40 minutes or so.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
Game day brings its ups and downs, celebration and disappointment. anxiety, and relief, friends and enemies. You can always argue over who should have won, but everyone can agree on great food. Appetizers, entrees, drinks, party platters, or even the taste of sweet victory. There's something for every season at Eat With Us restaurants.